Finishing 8th this year was a competitor that, outside of Dale Earnhardt, I'm sure had the best year of anybody. He won Super Speedway race, the Coca-Cola 600, won the inaugural Brickyard 400, which everybody wanted to win. And more importantly, last Saturday, he won the Heart of Brooke Seeley, and they were married. Jeff Gordon.
Nothing in motorsports is ever a sure thing, but every once in a while, someone comes along with the right to challenge that statement. Meet the newest contender. With the support of his second-year owner and carrying 1993 NASCAR Winston Cup Rookie of the Year honors, 23-year-old Jeff Gordon began his quest for success early. At the Busch Clash, he beat the veterans at their own game. In the famed Daytona Victory Circle, we got our first taste of what a points race triumph would be like. He came close in the Daytona 500 with a fourth-place finish and backed it up 2 races later with a third at Richmond. He could run fast and run up front. These tracks were no longer asphalt strangers to him. He captured the pole for the Memorial Weekend Showcase, and on May 29th, Jeff found the winning combination, and the code name was Charlotte. Gordon continued his assault on the super speedways with top 10 finishes at Dover, Pocono, and Daytona. Then it was time to go back home again. Decades from now, we can all say we were there in Indianapolis to witness the merging of racing superpowers, the day that a local boy became a national hero, the day that Jeff Gordon crossed the final yard of brick ahead of all others for the inaugural honors. First race, first place. For his win, Jeff took a victory lap like no other, and now his ties to NASCAR Winston Cup racing are permanent. It's a sure bet this won't be his last trip to the Waldorf Astoria podium. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the Rick Hendrick stable, the driver of the DuPont Chevrolet, finishing 8th in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings, from Pittsboro, Indiana, Jeff Gordon.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to attract your attention to the video screens all around the Grand Ballroom as we meet the 1995 NASCAR Winston Cup champion.
Tonight, we celebrate a NASCAR Winston Cup championship journey of maximum magnitude. But you must be prepared to ride along on an expedition of speed and daring, of courage and spirit. This is no fantasy. This is a trek into a new dimension of reality. And on our classic adventure, only one man will emerge as supreme. Stock car phenom Jeff Gordon and his colorful Rainbow Warriors formulated a theorem for 1995 success. Advance from contenders to winners. The campaign was fueled by an aggressive attitude. Refuse to lose. Just 2 races into the season, the floodgates opened at Rockingham. A new track record, 329 laps led, put a mark next to winner on that checklist. And stand by to do it again, and again, and again. When Gordon repeated the feat at Atlanta, you could see the trail from his skyrocketing confidence. Someone must have told this young gun that to win a championship, you must conquer the short tracks. The savvy son of thunder chose Bristol and led the most again. Gordon accelerated his need for speed, breaking down track record barriers at North Wilkesboro, at Charlotte, at Dover, at Michigan. In between, he intensified his growing reputation as unbeatable in NASCAR's All-Star Showcase at the Winston Select in Charlotte. Each green flag was permission to unleash what he's done behind the wheel of every competitive piece of machinery in his historic arsenal. At Daytona, it was licensed to best NASCAR seasoned veterans on their super speedway turf. The Brain Trust realized they had the building blocks and momentum to carry them to a NASCAR Winston Cup championship. And the fun was participating in this charmed season. Hendrick Motorsports took a vaulted leap into the ultimate points position when Gordon nailed victory number 5 at Loudon. His celebration sent a message: catch me if you can. Worldwide interest zeroed in on this most riveting of motorsport drama. On Labor Day weekend, Jeff Gordon joined legends he still idolizes as a Darlington Mountain Dew Southern 500 winner. But he wasn't finished winning yet. In a flamboyant flash, Gordon out-Dovered Dover with 400 leading laps, 7 wins, 8 Busch poles, 23 top 10s, and the most bonus points. These astounding numbers were the catapult that propelled this new superstar into the stratosphere of racing's jet set. Lap 61 at Atlanta brought the biggest bonus of all. The complete package was delivered. On this silver anniversary of NASCAR Winston Cup racing, the Rainbow Warriors uncovered their pot of gold. Put a check next to that once lofty goal. A future dynasty raises a salute before us. Ladies and gentlemen, the driver of the Rick Hendrick DuPont Refinishes Chevrolet, and now the 1995 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, from Pittsboro, Indiana, Jeff Gordon.
Finishing second with the DuPont Chevrolet, Jeff Gordon.
Take a look into the rearview mirror of 1996. What you'll see is a confident young champion with a mature message. I am ready to race anyone, anytime, anywhere. Signed, Jeff Gordon. The defending NASCAR Winston Cup champion began backing up that challenge with a front row start at Rockingham. And by the third race at Richmond, he wasn't just clicking off laps. He was leading his Hendrick Motorsports army to the land called Victory Lane. As a dividend, a berth in the All-Star Winston at Charlotte was assured. At Darlington, he was prepared, primed, and powerful, leading the most laps. Win number 2 was in the books. 1 week later, Gordon thundered a repeat performance on the Bristol High Banks. That bold statement was for real. Now it was time to contend for a NASCAR Winston Cup championship. Gordon next hooked up at Dover. Again, the most laps led, and now an elite seat in the top 3 in points. Good things must come in pairs, for a Pocono victory gave him his second back-to-back twin checkers. And when Jeff Gordon crossed the Talladega finish line ahead of every other machine, he vaulted into the points lead. What is black and white on paper, Gordon and his Rainbow Warriors make colorful come race day. Coolly anticipating the precise moment, Jeff just flat out gave it the gas and accelerated into his second consecutive Mountain Dew Southern 500 celebration at Darlington. Can anyone out-Dover Dover 2 years running? It can be done. Any time you lead the last 100 laps at Martinsville, you will hold the winner's trophy. And perhaps winning anywhere never had more significance than when the name of Jeff Gordon was permanently inked into the final win column at North Wilkesboro. Not unlike just 1 year past, a stirring contest to claim the NASCAR Winston Cup came down to a select few. And when he throttled home third at Atlanta, Gordon ended his season's prime performance that included a series-high 5 Busch poles, 10 Victory Lane visits, and $250,000 in the Winston Leader Bonus Program. Anyone, anytime, anywhere. And now, here's the driver of Rick Hendrick's DuPont Refinishes Chevrolet, the 1995 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, and this year's runner-up from Pittsboro, Indiana, Jeff Gordon.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the 1997 NASCAR Winston Cup champion.
It is now time to join a fantastic racing ride into the 21st century. Your championship crew is top flight. Their leader is strategic. The driver, very bold. The final destination is 12,715 miles away. Jeff Gordon and the Rainbow Warriors served immediate notice for the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship when the season opened at Daytona, first with a win in the Busch Clash. 1 week later, Jeff made the most daring of moves in Daytona 500 memory. At the end of the February Classic, Gordon was at the head of a Hendrick Racing 1-2-3 sweep. Not only was Gordon the first entrant into the Winston, but he had found the first number in the combination to the Winston Million. Next stop, Rockingham. Last stop, the winner's circle. When the series reached the short track test, this savvy son of thunder did it again. He scored back-to-back wins in the Food City 500 at Bristol and the Goodies 500 at Martinsville. Ready to turn the dial again, Jeff returned to the scene of his first career NASCAR Winston Cup victory and won his second Winston All-Star event before outlasting even Mother Nature with a win in the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. He was now the only man with a chance at the Winston Million. Victory number 6 came in the Pocono 500, and with it, a seat back atop the points lead. And when the shiny new California Speedway opened its gates for the first time, Gordon took the inaugural victory in Fontana. And proving that the Rainbow Warriors can win anywhere, Gordon took his first career road course victory in the Bud at the Glen. Now, all eyes focused on a newly reconfigured Darlington. The vault that held the Winston Million bonus had been locked for 12 years. In calculated fashion, Gordon's DuPont Refinishes Chevrolet overcame every racing obstacle in his path, and he tamed those who tried to prevent him from cashing in. In one Mountain Dew Southern 500 afternoon, Jeff Gordon broke the bank, became the only man in history to win the Labor Day Weekend Classic 3 consecutive times, and assumed a championship points lead he would never relinquish. Gordon capped off an incredible year with victory number 10 in the CMT 300 at Loudon. He has now won at 15 of the 19 circuits that make up the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship Trail. And for the second time in his young career, Jeff Gordon has rocketed to stock car stardom. Hang on, the ride is going higher and faster, and it's far from over. Ladies and gentlemen, the driver of the Rick Hendrick DuPont Refinishes Chevrolet, the 1995 and now 1997 NASCAR Winston Cup champion, from Pittsboro, Indiana, Jeff Gordon.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're all ready, the moment we've waited for all evening. Let's meet the 1998 NASCAR Winston Cup champion.
The 50th anniversary of NASCAR is about to come full circle. But first, we must revisit a small empty square. The 4 words that follow contain a powerful challenge. Only the most prepared, confident, and talented can attempt to pen the final bold stroke of accomplishment. You can refuse them no longer. Jeff Gordon and the Rainbow Warriors have set a new standard for the ultimate in long-term performance. It is a potent package of speed, consistency, calculated risk, timing, and sometimes just seat-of-the-pants racing. Here is the combination that unlocked their stellar season. Yeah! To run for a championship, the best place to start is at the head of the grid. Gordon captured a season-leading 7 Bud poles. He put the Super in Super Speedway at California, Charlotte, and Pocono. Downsizing only in distance, Jeff upended the quick times on the milers at Dover and Loudon. Switching the setup to steer left and right, Gordon swept the road course top spots at Sears Point and Watkins Glen. To prevail over 33 races, you must finish. 26 times the Rainbow Warriors placed in the top 5. They did it with chassis changes that held them in contention. They did it with precision pit stops that took them from mid-pack to the front. They did it with a cool and calculating coach. And they did it with a man in the cockpit who has an uncanny feel of when to press for the pass and the sense to bide his time. Jeff Gordon is a beacon that draws the Winston Noble 5 bonus money to his signal. At Indianapolis, Gordon uncorked not only his second win at the storied racetrack, but an additional $1 million bonus when he flashed across the final yard of bricks. Journeying to NASCAR Winston Cup's oldest event, Gordon was the only driver who could not be tamed. As his name was being transmitted as the only man to capture 4 consecutive Pepsi Southern 500s, he proudly reaped the rewards of a second Winston Noble 5 and the 3rd Winston $1 million bonus of his career. 330 bonus points were available this year, and with the knowledge that a championship can come down to single digits, the DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet took every advantage of the offer. They led in 26 events. They led the most laps 8 times, and the final tally added a valuable 170 markers to their account. Now, the number that will no longer be unlucky for Jeff Gordon and the Rainbow Warriors. With just 1 at-bat each weekend to add to this column, winning a NASCAR Winston Cup race is a feat which makes this sport unlike any other. Fasten your seatbelt. Rockingham, just the 2nd race of the season. Bristol, his 4th career on the high banks. Charlotte, a 2nd straight Memorial Weekend win. Sears Point, and a permanent seat atop the points. Pocono, with his closest competitor in pursuit. Indianapolis, the only 2-time winner. Watkins Glen, a sweep from the pole. Michigan, capping off a stunning 4-race winning streak. Loudon, a repeat in the fall event. Darlington, history rewritten again. Daytona, victorious under the bright inaugural lights. Rockingham, and a championship trophy just around the next turn. Atlanta. Just 6 years ago, Jeff Gordon was an unknown entering his first NASCAR Winston Cup race. A thrilling title chase, coupled with the retirement of the sport's greatest driver, may have overshadowed his debut. Little did we know what his potential role would become. So much proven, but something yet to prove. On a brisk November evening, the racing world had one final opportunity to see why this team is so hot. With the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship clinched, Gordon attacked Atlanta as if it were his very first race. When the checkered flag fell on NASCAR's 50th anniversary season, Gordon was the race winner, its champion, and possessor of a modern-day record-tying 13th win, joining the man he raced with just once. Jeff Gordon has propelled NASCAR Winston Cup racing into the highest echelons of competition and popularity. He now joins just 6 other men as those who can claim the NASCAR Winston Cup 3 times or more. Tonight, we celebrate 50 years of NASCAR, and we salute a champion who has been blessed with the qualities of all those who have come before. The tradition continues. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the driver of Hendrick Motorsports DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet, the 1998 and now 3-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion from Pittsboro, Indiana, Jeff Gordon.
And now on to this year's 6th place finisher, driver of the number 24 DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet Monte Carlo, Jeff Gordon.
In his 7th NASCAR Winston Cup season, Jeff Gordon earned 7 Bud poles to go along with 7 victories, the most poles and wins recorded by any driver this year. It all began at the Daytona 500 with a bold late race move that propelled him into victory lane for the 2nd time in his career. He also received an additional $1 million as winner of the Winston No Bull 5 bonus. Plus, a lucky fan paired with Jeff also went home $1 million richer. His winning ways continued at Atlanta, and then in his home state of California, first at Fontana, and then on the Sears Point Road Course. The youngest driver to ever win a championship in the modern era of NASCAR Winston Cup racing, Gordon's next victory came at Watkins Glen, and with it, another all-time record. This one is the winner of most consecutive road course races, 5, dating back to 1997. 2 late back-to-back wins at Martinsville and Charlotte enabled Jeff to lead the series in wins for the 5th consecutive year. That's another Winston Cup record for the winningest driver of the 90s. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the driver of the Hendrick Motorsports DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet, 6th place in the 1999 point standings, 3-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion, Jeff Gordon.
Taking 9th place in the point standing is a 3-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion. He drives the number 24 DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet Monte Carlo, Jeff Gordon.
In any sports dynasty, there comes a time to refocus and rebuild. And what better cockpit captain to lead the charge than Jeff Gordon? Knowing the value of consistent top 10 finishes, Gordon strengthened the season's foundation on every type of track from Atlanta to Bristol, including the Bud Pole at Darlington and a 4th place finish at Martinsville. Time for the turning point at Talladega. Gordon and his Rainbow Warriors mastered the massive super speedway, mashed the finish line gas, and pulled into victory lane with a milestone career win, number 50. From his bull ring background, evolved a knack for the tight and twisty NASCAR Winston Cup road course turns. At the Sears Point finish line, Gordon became the ultimate road warrior with a record 6 straight road course win. The lights at Richmond shone as brightly as Gordon's short track savvy. An emotional victory lane elevated Gordon to career victory 52 and 9th place on the all-time list of NASCAR Winston Cup greats. In the final 11 races of the season, Gordon racked up 10 top 10 finishes to secure his 7th consecutive appearance in New York City tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, 3-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion and this year's 9th place finisher, the driver of Rick Hendrick's DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet, from Pittsboro, Indiana, Jeff Gordon.
In just a few moments, Jeff Gordon will be honored as a 4-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion at the ripe old age of 30. In his years as a competitor in this sport, he has shown he can race with grace, win with class, and lead by example. But Jeff is the first guy to tell you this is not a one-man team. He's surrounded by skillful people, the dedicated people of the DuPont team, a team that has painted the portrait of a true champion.
With hard driving consistency, our 2001 NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion led lap after lap, claiming his 4th series title in 7 years, joining Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt as the only drivers in Winston Cup Series history to capture more than 3 championships. Gordon's quest for 4 began with the first of a series-leading 7 Bud Poles at Rockingham. In March, Gordon and crew chief Robbie Loomis celebrated the first of 6 trips to victory lane by cashing in on a Winston No Bull $5 million bonus at Las Vegas. A hard-fought 4th at Bristol and a 5th at Texas set the stage for a remarkable streak of 6 top 3 finishes in 7 starts, including consecutive runner-up finishes at California and Richmond. A complete team effort and a victory at the Winston led to successive wins at Dover Downs and Michigan in June, the latter of which represented NASCAR win number 100 for Hendrick Motorsports. Yet another Bud Pole effort at Sears Point and the resulting 3rd place finish only reinforced Gordon's versatility behind the wheel. With White Brook looking on, the 1993 Raybestos Rookie of the Year sped to yet another Bud Pole at New Hampshire, yielding a 2nd place finish. Convincing wins at Indianapolis and Watkins Glen in August set the DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet team apart as the ones to beat for the 2001 championship. A runner-up finish at Darlington in September added to Gordon's series-leading total of 18 top 5 finishes. And with a victory at the Kansas inaugural, Gordon extended his point advantage entering the season's final stretch. Top 10 finishes at Martinsville, Talladega, Phoenix, and a title-clinching 6th place drive at Atlanta sealed the deal for Gordon, Hendrick, Loomis, and the entire DuPont Automotive Finishes team. Jeff Gordon is now the youngest 4-time Winston Cup Series champion in NASCAR history, driving to a season-leading 6 wins, 18 top 5s, and 24 top 10 finishes. Please welcome driver of the Rick Hendrick-owned DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet, from Pittsboro, Indiana, the 4-time and 2001 NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion, Jeff Gordon.